The time is now, the time is here. Round up the soldiers and lend me your ear. Pick your head up, stick your chest out, be strong. Listen closely, cause men can't always be wrong. The time is now, the time is here. Round up the soldiers and lend me your ear.
What up, everybody? It's your guy T Swin and
your boy J Bean.
And this is the Men Can't Always Be Wrong podcast, brought to you by CTR Media Network. And we have a special guest for you today, coming all the way from the Philippines. Man, we got some good topics we're gonna talk about. And this guy, man, he's amazing. He has a huge following on social media. He's heavy in the community, man. He does a lot of things dealing with people and their mental health, their self-health, and their self-care. And man, our guest today is none other than Mr. J. Chanthalangsy.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here, guys.
Man, thank you for coming on with us.
Of course.
So, Jay, man, give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah, so my name is Jay Chanthalangsy, currently residing in the Philippines as of right now. I'm a self-care and healing coach. I help my clients begin their healing journey with simple and effective self-care. Grew up in California and Hawaii, went through my own healing journey, which kind of catapulted this whole coaching and helping others to start their healing journeys, because I truly believe that everybody has something to heal from. We all have trauma. We all have things that we don't talk about, chapters that we don't want people to know about. But for me specifically, coming out of my own issues of healing and my anger, temperament, and not being able to be vulnerable and express my feelings was a huge detriment to my life, and that affected everyone that I loved. So when I got through that with my own journey, it then turned into what I'm doing now to help my clients and students do the same thing. So that's pretty much what I do. And like I said, we're residing in the Philippines right now. We basically sold everything in California and just picked up the family and decided to travel the world. So here we are.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I have a question for you. I've never heard of energy medicine. This is actually a new topic for me. Can you explain the difference between energy medicine and conventional medicine?
Yeah, for sure. So good question, by the way. So energy medicine, basically deals with energy. Medicine is just there because everyone's familiar with the term, right? Mm-hmm. But medicine is just something that you take that can make you physically, mentally, emotionally feel better. Energy deals with energy, specifically energy. Quantum energy, I don't know if you guys are familiar about that, but if you look at us in a microscope, 10 times zoom in, all you're going to see is little light beams bouncing around. We're all made up of energy. We're all made up of, light. And so energy medicine deals with that. I am a certified emotion code practitioner. So we use energy to create harmony in your body, right? Because if you have energy that is stuck within your body, it can cause a lot of energy blocks. It can cause a lot of other things like dis-ease, right? Physical ailments, and a lot of other things that can definitely impede on your life if you have these type of blocks. So that's what energy medicine is.
Man, how did you discover energy medicine?
Another good question. So it happened because my wife, we had our son Ezra, and after she had our son Ezra, she went through severe postpartum depression, rage, anxiety, all of that. It was one of the most scariest times of my life. I didn't know how to support her, what to do. I mean, there were points in that situation where she didn't even want to hold our son and our baby and be with us, right? I mean, and I've never dealt with severe depression like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been sad because of a breakup, but not to that point,
Yeah, that extent, yeah.
Exactly. And so, we went to the doctor, we went to see the psychiatrist and all that stuff, and they were going to give her, put her on some meds. But at that time, she was still mentally aware enough to not do that, because she was also breastfeeding at the time whenever she wanted to do it. So she started to look into other holistic ways to help her deal with all of her, depression and rage and anxiety,
Yeah.
I mean, us guys will never understand what women go through after having a baby. You know what I mean? So it's
most definitely not.
So it's
I've been through it too, bro.
Okay, yeah. So pretty sure but so when she started to look, on the internet, I think she came across this other practitioner, and she was talking about this book called The Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And he's a doctor that founded this energy healing technique. And he's been practicing it for over 25 years on his clients, and he was seeing a huge amount of, success stories and stuff. So he wrote the book, and this other person on Instagram, she was talking about the book, and then my wife happened to see the Instagram post, and she was like, I want to get that book. She loves reading. That's like her thing. So she bought the book, she started reading it, and then she told me, she's like, I think you need to read this book. And I was like, okay, cool. And I downloaded the audiobook. I love listening to books. So I went through it in like 3 days. And something inside of me was like, this is it. This is what's going to help you with your postpartum depression, rage, and anxiety. I don't know how I knew, but you just kind of get that knowing sometimes when things make sense.
You felt it.
Right, the intuition, right? And so we started to practice the technique, because the book tells you how to implement this energy healing technique on yourself, right?
Yeah.
So we started to do it on ourselves, and she was seeing some shifts in her mood, in her mental state of being, in her emotions. And I was seeing the differences too. Even her doctors were seeing the difference. Her doctors, we'd go to the weekly checkups, for her psychiatrist, and even her psychiatrist, like, what are you doing? Like, you seem like you're a lot better, because she was already diagnosed, postpartum depression. So she kept doing it. And I think 3 months in, all of her symptoms of depression, anxiety, rage went away. And so it was such a life-changing moment for both of us that we decided to become certified practitioners in this specific energy healing technique. And the premise of it is just understanding that we all feel emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if we don't, not sometimes, most times, most of us do not process these emotions in a very healthy way. We internalize, right? We hold it in, we don't speak about it. Yeah. But then that emotion is also considered energy. So every emotion we feel has a specific frequency, a specific vibration. And if we internalize that emotion, it becomes what we call trapped emotions. It becomes stuck into your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes stagnant. And over time, when that energy or emotion, energy in motion, if it's not moving through your body, it's going to get stuck. And once it gets stuck, that energy is going to grow and grow, and it's going to start to distort your cells, your muscle tissue. A lot of people that come to us, they always tell us like, yeah, I've been having this crazy pain. I don't even know where it came from.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a lot of, emotions that you haven't healthily processed because we were never taught that, right? We were never growing up. I don't know about you guys, but my household was very like strict, like you can't feel nothing.
Especially in the States, we're so used to this going to the doctor and they just sticking the pill in our mouth, That's the answer for everything in the West.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I subscribed to that too, for a while until, that's when, seeing my wife go through that and understanding and seeing her get better, it made me really go down the rabbit hole about this whole energy thing, about the self-care thing, about how we as human beings have to look at ourselves in a very holistic way, like HOL and WHO. Like we're not just talking about physical, like physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, right? Like all these four things, like they all intertwine and interconnect with each other. So we have to be very aware of how they affect one another. And, you see a lot of people out there, they could be super physically fit, but then they have a lot of mental ailments, right? So we have to really be mindful about everything that, we do to take care of ourselves in a very holistic way.
Now, you talked about energy and you talked about frequencies. Now, there's some, like you said, people being physically fit on the outside, but they say if you're at a certain frequency, you can be medically dead. At a low frequency. And they say also talking about higher energy and higher frequencies also keep sicknesses out of the body.
Correct.
I've done a little research.
Yeah.
I know you're big on meditation too, man.
Yes.
So
yes.
I took a class on transcendental meditation.
Nice.
So we have a school here in Houston, and I'm a member of a lifetime member. I don't meditate as much as I should. I need to get back into a heavy practice, in the morning and in the evening. So I'm big on that.
Yeah, man. Congratulations on that. And I always champion people who want to step into that realm of meditation. And I just want to, let your audience know, because when people hear that word, meditation, they already get apprehensive. They're like, oh my, I can't clear my mind. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't meditate. They're already self-fulfilling prophecy that they can't do it. But when I teach my students, simple meditation, depending on where they are in their lives, right? When they tell me they can't meditate, we don't meditate, right? We just start by breathing first. Because most people in a high state of survival, or, the nervous systems are always dysregulated. They're already overthinking, over worrying, right? They're always like in fear mode. So what I do to help my clients and students is I teach them how to breathe first, right? Just focusing on your breath and breathing for like 1 or 2 minutes. And that in itself is already meditative, right?
Yes.
Because like I said, I mean, marketing and all this stuff, and they see on TV, they think like, oh, I have to be like in a cave somewhere and clear my mind and not have any thoughts. So I'm like, no, exactly. I mean that helps too, but the main point of meditation is to relax your body, right? We have to get into our bodies, and then the whole observation of your mind and your thoughts will come later, right? There's like small steps to get to where you want to be and then at that point, when you become an avid, meditator, you'll feel the effects, in your everyday life, right? You won't be so reactive. You won't be so angry, right? You'll have more patience, more compassion, have like an altruistic outlook on life, right? So all these things come with practice, and that's exactly what it is. It's a practice. It's not like I meditate 2 3 days a week and I'm good to go.
Perfect,
right. Some days, like I just take like 2 minutes just to do it. Some days I take longer. So just depends on how I feel.
And I have another question for you, because I'm new to the whole meditation thing. I know enough to get in trouble, basically. So what are some common misconceptions about energy medicine? That you like, besides people saying, I can't do it because I can't clear my mind. What other kind of misconceptions did you get?
You mean for meditation or energy healing or energy?
For energy healing, sir.
Oh, for energy healing. So a lot of misconceptions. I mean, the biggest one is like, it's it's not viewed in Western society as something tangible, right? So a lot of people don't believe in it, because they can't really prove it happening. Unlike conventional medicine, where you go, you take a pill, it's going to physically impact your body some way, somehow, or numb it, or take away the pain, and they feel physically better, right? Energy doesn't work that way. So I think a lot of people don't believe in it because they haven't experienced it for themselves. And it's gone as far as like people think it might be like demonic and, you know, against their religion and all this stuff. But when you really look at the origins of energy, you have to look back thousands of years. You know, Eastern medicine has been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. Right. I mean, you have the qi, right, in the Chinese energy medicine. You have like acupuncture, acupressure. You have Ayurvedic, you know, from India.
Yeah.
Or even just practicing mindfulness is also trying to elevate your energy centers, right? All the chakra systems, all of that's from Eastern, you know, Eastern medicine. It all encapsulates everything about energy.
Yeah.
And what I feel, you know, when I did this, because I kind of grew up in this, but I was never really aware because I was so rebellious. Right?
Yeah.
So my father, he was like a medicine man of his time in Laos too, and he did all these crazy things that I couldn't really explain. So I grew up seeing all that stuff, and I really didn't believe it until, you know, I went through my own experience with my wife and all that stuff and doing the work on myself. And that's when I really understood, like, oh, wow, this is really viable. This is something going on. And now they're studying all these effects, right? I think science is trying to catch up and understand what energy is, right? Because they're trying to understand it from a very quantum level, that we can affect each other's energy. We can have connections, entanglements with each other, right? It's kind of like when you're around specific people, sometimes their energy feels good, so you feel good, right?
Yeah.
But if the energy is kind of like, ooh, man, that I don't know, that doesn't sit right with me. That's their energy giving off to you, saying that, you know, you're not feeling comfortable. But in that sense, it's all energy, right? So we're also impacting each other one way or another, energetically, emotionally, right? Physically. So all that, you know, plays into understanding what energy is. I think the more people start to understand it and start to, you know, educate themselves about it, the more it's going to be accepted, you know, in like normal everyday thing. I mean, Dr. Bradley Nelson, the creator of the emotion code, he always says he truly believes that in the future, you know, there might not be a need for doctors, because the more we elevate our understanding of our own energy and our own bodies, then we'll know how to take care of it. We'll know what to do. We'll be more aware of, you know, how our body's communicating with us, right? Because every time something happens to me, like even if it's a sharp pain or a tingle, like I never disregard it now. You know, I'm just like, what's my body trying to tell me? You know, like, am I going to get like a sharp pain here? Like, do I need a stretch? Right. My wife's a energy medicine practitioner too. So I'll ask her like, hey, can you check me? Do I have any blockages in my body? And then she'll tell me like, yeah, you know, you have this, you have a trapped emotion. And then I can reflect back on some of the things that I experienced and be like, oh yeah, I think that's what happened, you know, because I never truly processed that whole energy out of my body. So
now, Jay, I got a question for you, man. Is there a specific name for this energy medicine? Because I'm familiar with Reiki. Are you familiar with Reiki?
Yes. Yeah.
And so, and like you talking about checking for like ailments or areas that's, you know, there's injuries, you know, sickness. They would have. I took a class once. I'm telling you, I'll be into this stuff.
Yeah.
And they had us rub our hands together. You know what I'm saying? And then take your hands and put it over the area of your body or somebody else's, and you can feel the energy where it got weak and lower. And you can tell if somebody had an issue. I'm also big, man, you know, checking to the chakras. I got incense in here for each chakra. You know what I'm saying? The boy T Swim, I'll be on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. And great question, by the way. I'm very familiar with Reiki. Reiki is also a different type of energy medicine or an energy healing modality. The one that we're certified in is called emotion code and body code. And so Reiki is different because Reiki focuses on imbalances in your energy body, right? All the chakras, practitioners can sense just by looking at your body as a whole. And if they sense there's a blockage or a resistance in any of your energy fields, they can release it, right? By pure intention, or, using crystals or whatever, right?
Yeah.
With emotion code, the difference is we utilize your subconscious mind to identify the trapped emotions that are inside of your body. And we use what's called muscle testing, or it's based on kinesiology. Like, our bodies give off specific signals if we if we say a true or false statement. So every time you say something false or not true, your body goes weak, right? Because it's a negative statement. If you say something true, your body becomes strong. And these are very subtle signals. It's kind of like when people go, to like get a polygraph test, right? They put all those electrodes on you. It's measuring that subtle change in your muscles, right? Because that frequency that's coming off of you, it's either negative or positive. So in our technique, we utilize your subconscious mind by asking it questions, and then we can muscle test with our bodies to see if the question to see if the answer to the question is true or not, right? So as a practitioner, we are certified to use our bodies as the tool to do the muscle test to get the information from anyone we're working with. And energy spans, space and time. So I could be working on someone on the other side of the world, right?
Yeah.
Because energy doesn't have these limitations, right?
Yeah.
And people can feel it. People can also sense things. They can, feel tingles in their bodies. They feel a lot lighter when emotions are released, right?
Yeah.
We've helped thousands and thousands of clients already. And we've experienced it ourselves, my wife and I. And for us, it was really life-changing, for us to understand, we have all these, trapped emotions within our bodies, and then we have to release it, because if not, it just shows up later on. For me, it was like a lot of, triggers that would happen, right? I would always get like super defensive easily, right? My wife and I would always fight and argue about the same stuff. And I would always like walk out, like, give her the silent treatment. And to me, I thought that was normal. I was like, that's just how I am. You love it or leave it, right? but I didn't know that I was holding a lot of resentment and grief, from a lot of my childhood, trauma, because I was so unaware. And so when I started to do this work of healing and really understanding how all of those were affecting my behavior, my choices, even my parenting style, right? Like, because I was just repeating the same thing that my dad was doing to me, to my child. But then deep down inside, I'm like, that's not right. Like, I don't feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I would feel guilty all the time as a parent, as a father. And so like, I really had to understand and get to the root causes of it. Energy healing, specifically this one, I kind of see it as like a shortcut to understanding like what some of these emotions you carry inside of you. Because once you identify it, you can then start to reflect. For me, it was a lot of like resentment, anger, frustration, bitterness, all these emotions were coming up. And I'm like, damn, am I that resentful? Like a lot of, my dad was really strict. So a lot of that came from, the relationship from my father and I. So.
You had said that, man, you was around the teachings and didn't really recognize it. So, man, I'm gonna put this on the screen. So, is this from the time when you was around the teaching?
Well, you got that picture.
Let's see, you was a Buddhist monk, man.
Yeah. I was actually a Buddhist monk for many times in my life already. But that was my first time. I was 9 years old. And a quick story, the reason why I was, I became a monk for so many years is my dad was a very devout Buddhist, right? He basically was a Buddhist all his life until he was forced to come out of the cloth because they were going to kill him, right? Like in Laos, they had some like communist war, like silent war or something like that. And his venerable or his master above him, directed him and said, you need to, get out of the cloth and just go live your life. Like go marry, go get married, have kids and, survive. You don't have to die like this. Right. Yeah. And that's what he did. So, when he created his family with my mother, and then, I only have an older sister, he took all of that years and years of becoming non-attached as a Buddhist monk, right, and learning all of that into our family unit. So by 9 years old, he was already like teaching me how to meditate, teaching me all the Buddhist Sanskrit, chantings. I already knew how to speak and chant and pray, and meditate, even though I hated it, But, imagine a 5-year-old like sit still for 15 minutes, and I was like, And then if he would catch me like moving, I'd get smacked upside the head, and I'm just like, oh, dude. So, I mean, in that photo, I was actually staying at the monastery for the whole summer. So I was learning, and that was my venerable, and that venerable was actually my father's student, and so he upgraded, he up leveled into becoming a high monk. Because my dad taught him, so it was kind of like a legacy thing, right? My dad was like, "Well, you're gonna learn from my, prize student in Buddhism." So I, learned everything there. So, yeah.
Man, just from the way you're talking, bro, it seemed like family is big to you, man.
Yeah, it is. It's very big. I'm a father of 4, so I've always wanted a big family. My wife is an only child, so she also wanted a big family too. And family to us is everything, and that's why we, kind of made this big decision for ourselves and for our family to travel. We kind of had this. So last year, I did a challenge with my Facebook group. I call it the Healing Tribe. And I was trying to prepare them for 2023, the new year. Mm-hmm. So we're doing different exercises every day. And one of the exercises was, what do you want the word of the year for you to be for next year? Right. So you have to choose a specific word that you can resonate with, that you can like kind of hold on to make decisions or, to inspire you and motivate you. And what I shared with the group was, my word was going to be adventure. I wanted to create more adventures with my family. And I didn't know how that was going to happen or, what was going to transpire, but that's what I wanted to do. My wife and I, we love to travel already, but, we always had that mentality, like when you have kids, it might be a bit more difficult, right? And our kids are young, right? We have 3 that are under 6 years old, right?
Oh, wow.
And so we were like, okay, well, how are we going to do this? And things just happen when you surrender to the universe and you just put intention out there, because intention is also energy, right? You're also manifesting that type of frequency. So things started happening, and then next thing you know, we're buying a one-way ticket, to Hawaii first to go see my mom for a bit, because my mom still lives in Hawaii. And then after Hawaii, we bought another one-way ticket to this side of the world. And then now here we are, and everything kind of just worked out in that sense. And now my children, they just seeing them every day with, the surprise and wonder in their eyes when we go to different places. I mean, that's priceless. It's just like, you can't put a price tag on that, and they're so excited about it. Me too. Like I haven't really traveled outside the US much. And so, like I said, now being here and being able to travel here throughout Asia, it's been a blessing. It's awesome. And so, yeah.
Yes, sir. Are you learning in Tagalog?
In Tagalog, no, I'm not. Well, I'm kind of learning.
Yeah.
But you know, my wife, she can understand and speak Tagalog fluently. So we're pretty set here, and the Philippines is actually our home base at the moment because of the visa that we can get. And I don't think a lot of people know this. If you're Filipino, or if you were born in the Philippines, if you come back, there's this like program called the Balik Bayan program. They'll give you a whole year without having to sign any visa or anything like that. So my wife, she was born here, so she has her birth certificate and all that stuff, but she's a U.S. citizen, right?
Gotcha.
So on her passport, it says born in the Philippines. So when we came into the Philippines, they just stamped it for a whole year, and we were like, "Oh, we didn't even have to do anything." You know, it's like
perfect place to settle, right?
right, yeah. So and now that we're here, like I said, we're using it as our home base to fly out to different, to other countries. That makes it super easy, super affordable, and like the Philippines, if a lot of people don't know, it's an English speaking country. So everyone speaks and understands English. I mean, not to our caliber, but they can understand because, it's taught in the schools as a second language. Right. And so when I came here, they already think that I'm Filipino. So I already looked the part. But when they speak to me in like Tagalog, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not Filipino. But then when I speak in English, like they can I can get around on my own, like easy, right?
Okay.
So,
I have a question. Back to the as far as trauma, do most of your clients like is the most of their blockages from childhood trauma, or is it from adulthood trauma?
Good question. Very good question. Most of our blockages come from our whole lives, right? When I do the energy work, specifically emotion code and body code, when I tap into your subconscious mind, your subconscious will lead me to understand where the trauma and in what timeline that it wants to release. So when you think about your subconscious mind, you have to think that its main priority is to protect you, right? And it's a supercomputer that's in your mind. So your subconscious houses all of the different events, all the memories, all the instances of your life since you were born, and some people even believe before, right, preconception. And so you have all of that information in your subconscious mind. So when a practitioner like myself taps into your subconscious mind, it's up to your subconscious mind to release whatever it wants to release, but its main protocol is to protect you first. So most times what we find that when we start to work with clients for the first time, the trauma will come from specific things that's very recent, right? Because we're trying to open up and try to get familiar with how the trauma has impacted them, and the more we work with them, time over time, right? That's when the subconscious becomes a lot more open, because at that point, the client or the student will actually, get the sense of what they're feeling, what they're releasing. And then the subconscious is okay with going to the very deeper traumatic events, right? Things that happen in the childhood. Because with this type of work, we can also identify exactly, at around what age that trauma happened or that trapped emotion, happened, right? For example, for me, I had a trapped emotion of bitterness at the age of 17, around the age of 17. And then, I would release it. And then once you release it, what happens to most people is, their subconscious is open, and then memories will start flooding into their mind, right? Things will start to come to surface. And then we talk about it. We talk it through, and the emotion is released. And once it's released, a lot of people feel a lot lighter. You know what I mean? Their heart kind of opens up a little bit. They can breathe easier. If we're trying to, help them with physical pain, the pain subsides, right? So all these things happen, but it's primarily based on, what your subconscious allows us, the practitioners, to release. So I can't tell you right now, like, if I work with someone the first time, we're going to go all the way back to the childhood. Yeah. That's rarely the case because, like I said, your subconscious is always trying to protect you. And, for you to bring up those deep traumatic events, it might give you PTSD, and your subconscious will never allow you to feel that way if you haven't felt it before. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, so that's how this, energy healing works.
Yeah, I remember taking my transcendental meditation class, and they talked about positive stress and negative stress.
Yeah.
And they talked about it. The example they gave was that it was like a coil. Mm-hmm. And the more that you meditated, the more you unravel that coil and release that negative stress. They say the positive stress was like good things that happen to you in your life. You want to hold on to that. Right. The negative, you want to get rid of it. And the more you do it, the deeper you go till you get down to that childhood stuff.
Yeah.
So that was explained. And they talked about the top. They gave a demonstration. The example was like water. The top is got waves. It's crashing. The deeper you go, the more calm it gets.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And, psychology tells us that too, right? About childhood trauma. A lot of us if not all of us that have childhood trauma, it just means that when we were children, we were experiencing a very traumatic event that our bodies couldn't process the emotions, right? And most of us, we were told to not feel, not cry, not express. And then we get into this survivor mode, right? Our nervous system gets regulated. And then now our subconscious is like, well, you need to start surviving. You need to start doing everything you can to not feel this way. And then that becomes part of your behavior trait. That becomes part of your personality, right? And then as you get older, all those things from the past, right? Because that trauma compounds over time, right? So if we don't work through it, if we don't work through it, it's just going to continue to build and build, and then that's what triggers are, right? You see or say one thing, and then boom, you're triggered. It explodes out of you, right? So that's like harboring all of those trapped emotions or energies that we really truly didn't, work through. And like I said, like you said, T, when you work down to, the childhood level, you get very deep into some of the things that you've been holding for a long time, right? Yeah.
Now, another thing too is what I was told is that I was told this by I used to go see a psychiatrist when in my military stuff, and she was like, if you don't do something about your stress, the body will do something,
right?
And that's where the twitching and the nervous blinking and all that kind of stuff, or stuttering and stuff like that comes from. I said the body will react, blacking out. If you don't do something, the body gonna say, well, I'm gonna do something right now.
Right. Exactly. And the body keeps the score, right? I mean, there's a great book out there. And when you experience those type of things, most of us disregard it because the pain isn't as painful, right? We're not suffering when we're like twitching or, even when we have sharp pain, if it goes away, we don't really think about it, right?
Yeah, we're just thankful it's gone.
Right, exactly.
We stuff it and keep going. Yeah.
Right. But if you really look at your body, it's a very intelligent being, right? It's always talking to us, whether it's pain, sensations, twitching, twinges, whatever, like blinking, or, even when you feel good, like you have sensations or, you get goosebumps all over your body, right? That's always your body, it's super intelligent that it's always communicating with us. So when we start to become aware of all of that, then we can take that information and understand how to process these type of things or these type of events. Like if we go through something traumatic, we can then take on that emotion or those thoughts and we can process through it in a very healthy way so that it doesn't affect us later on. We don't have to internalize it. We don't have to, hold on to it.
Yeah.
We don't have to project it on other people, right? I mean, how many times, like, even with your relationships, like, maybe your wife comes home, she had a bad day at work, like she's gonna take it out on you, and you're like, well, I didn't even do anything.
Exactly.
That's a transfer of energy. That's a transfer
Mhm.
of projections, because she couldn't really, process it through. My wife and I mean, our first 3 years of marriage was horrendous. It was not. I mean, she almost left me. She was like, she was, fed up, and she was like, you know what? If he doesn't talk to me, I'm out, right?
Yeah.
And I was still unhealed. I was still unaware. I was still defensive, right? Stubborn. And then when I started to do this work and become more mindful of my actions and behaviors, I started to realize, like, whoa, like, I need to look in the mirror at myself. It was why am I always angry? Why do I get upset when she just asks me a question about something? How come I can't verbalize my emotions?
Yeah. Is it that serious?
Yeah. I was very emotionally unavailable. Like, because she's an empath, so she, like, feels her emotions to the nth degree, right? Me, on the other hand, I was like, one word answer. How do you feel today? Good. I'm all right.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, right. Even if something's going on my mind, even if I'm, like, worried about something, I didn't know how to articulate that.
Yeah.
And so she would get upset. She would get frustrated. You're like, can you just give me more than just you're okay? I know you're not okay. Your body's, your face is not telling me that, right? Your energy is not speaking that to me. And so, like, I literally had to relearn how to feel, how to be vulnerable, how to express. And most of that was getting into my body and understanding how each emotion felt, and meditation helps a lot with that as well.
Yeah.
So,
now, what would you say about people that think it's not masculine to tap into this energy?
I would say I would ask them where they learned that from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's a huge misconception about masculinity and femininity and the different, dichotomies of energy. And because of their upbringing and what they know and what they've learned about masculinity, that might, cause them to be confused about it. I think being vulnerable is very masculine because it takes a lot of courage, right? If you follow Brene Brown, vulnerability, she says that, most of the more courageous men have to tap into their vulnerability in the face of fear, but that's where courage comes from, right?
Yeah.
And most men, we mask that with all of these other, emotions that might be very detrimental, just to get our point across, or we become very egoic, we become very controlling, right? Even sometimes narcissistic. And that's not very conducive to, being in a relationship, a healthy one, for that matter, or even understanding how we manage our own energies, masculine or feminine, right? So for me, I guess I was highly masculine when I couldn't be vulnerable with myself, but in turn that affected my wife, my kids. My kids were scared of me. Like, they didn't want to even, like, because I was always angry. I was always projecting. I was always, like, bleeding my resentment onto them when I was unaware, right? So some guys might see that and be like, wow, he's really, like, masculine, because, like, his masculine energy is, like, overpowering him. Correct. But if you have a balance in between that, you can then be even as effective with, a sense of femininity in there, right? So I can still be effective with my children being more sensitive to get my point across. Because specifically with children, if they're scared, they're not going to pay attention.
Oh, they don't hear you.
Yeah, they're not going to hear you, right? You have to create that safe space. But most men, I feel that, we were just taught the wrong way. We were shown the wrong way. And that's not, to the fault of whoever taught us that, right? Like my father, I can't even blame him because he had his own traumas that he didn't work through. And I didn't know that at the time, right? It's only now that I'm truly compassionate and understand what he had to do for us. So all of that resentment and bitterness is gone, right? There's nothing but forgiveness and compassion and deep gratitude and love now. But that came from, understanding within myself and my own healing.
10-4. Man, go ahead, JV.
I was gonna ask, what kind of like techniques do you use to rebalance the energy in a person?
So besides emotion code, the energy healing technique, what I like to do is I like to tell people to get into their bodies, right? Because every time there's an imbalance in energy, your nervous system gets dysregulated. And you can feel it because things start to happen within your body. Like your muscle starts to tense up, your pupils get dilated, you might start to sweat or stem a little bit and tremble. That's your body trying to protect itself already. So for me, my number one thing is once you feel like there's something, becoming imbalanced, or you feel anxious or tense, go straight into breathing. It's free, it's available, it's simple. All you have to do is just take a couple of deep breaths in and out, right? And just drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, and just try to focus on the breath. A lot of people don't, they overlook the power of breathing. And I'll tell you a quick story, because I didn't get into breath work until 2 years ago. And I read this book called Breathe by James Nestor.
I read that book also. Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason why I tape my mouth when I sleep. That's the reason why I train with just breathing through my nose. And just by doing all of that and breathing correctly, like my allergy symptoms all went away. I don't sneeze in the morning no more. I don't have any sniffles. I can run 6 miles with my mouth closed with no water. And my recovery is like amazing, right?
Yeah.
So when we learn how to breathe, and deep belly breathing and all that stuff, and this breathing has been around for thousands of years too, right? Tibetan monks do it, right? That's why they can meditate in like the Himalayas without even feeling any type of cold. Like Wim Hof is another person who teaches this technique about breathing. Like it's so important, and I think a lot of us overlook the simplicity of it, but it also has a lot of healing qualities. So if your energy is kind of out of whack, the first thing I would say to tell someone is, just to intentionally, consciously breathe, for like a minute or so, and just do deep belly breaths in and out, and you should automatically feel good.
Gotcha. Now, man, I seen here, man, it says that you got married 4 times. Me myself, man, I've been married twice. There's two different women, but you got a story of being married 4 times.
No. Well, I married the same girl 4 times. So I married my wife 4 times. That's a funny story because we have 4 different wedding anniversaries.
Wow.
So we got married in a civil ceremony, right? So just to get the paperwork, and that was in Oakland, California. We got married there and had my friend officiate, the whole ceremony, which is beautiful. And then we came to the Philippines and we got married in her Catholic tradition, right? Because my wife is Catholic. So we got married at her mother's province in the Philippines in this like 1700 year old church. It was beautiful. So we had that was the second wedding, and then the third wedding was our beach wedding, and that was also in the Philippines, and that was on a separate island. So that was wedding number 3, and then the 4th wedding was in my Laotian tradition. So we had that back in California. So we have like 4 different wedding anniversaries.
How do you keep up with that, bro? How do you
keep up with that?
You got all the birthdays, then you got all the anniversaries.
All right.
Google Calendar.
The reminders,
Yeah, exactly.
Now I'm gonna say this, man. Now, Bay Area. I'm pretty sure you familiar with E40?
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir. He was in H-Town yesterday. He came to Bun Beach Trill Burgers. Yeah, he was in town.
Okay. Yeah.
Now I seen you had Golden State on your wall, and
Yes.
so you're a Golden State fan. Man, how you feel about Chris Paul being with the Warriors now?
Let me see. Let me dissect this. So I disliked Chris Paul for a long time. I'm not gonna say that. Yeah, I'm not gonna say the H word. You know, that's some bad vibrations. But I disliked him for a long time because of his style of play, and just the little nuances that he would do. But then again, when you look back, he was just playing the system and understanding, the rules and all that stuff, right? Like that whole swiping thing. Every time he would do that, I'm like, and our rookies that would just fall for him, like, for real, bro. Like that's like the third time, man. Like, come on, man. Like Kuminga, he would always get on Kuminga and Moody. Like in the last year, I was like, oh my gosh, dude. But they're still rookies, right? They don't know. But his style of play was what really irritated me, But I knew his caliber of play. I knew like he plays at a very high level. And so now that he's on our team, I'm more I'm waiting to see how he's gonna gel with our system and the rest of the players. I know he has a lot of history with, with Steph Curry and all that stuff. Yeah. But I kind of want to see how, Coach Kerr is going to take, the team forward with different, systems, and if he's going to come off the bench or, if he's going to lead at the point. I mean, I'm more intrigued than to stick with my feelings of disliking him.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
On that, man, real quick. On that, I feel like with him handling the ball, that frees Steph and Clay up to run around a whole lot more. They already catching hell trying to chase them too. And if people complain about them not having the ball and having to chase them down. With him handling the ball and them moving around, it's going to be killer. And I also heard that supposedly they re-signed DeMarcus Cousins.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I seen an article yesterday. Supposedly they re-signed him. So hopefully that's true. He stays around because that opens up the floor too. He's got good post moves and he can shoot the three.
Yeah, he's a big man.
He can't jump.
He can't jump. And to your point, when Chris Paul is going to be if he's going to be at the point and Steph and Clay is going to be running around, even if they don't get open, he can already make his own plays. He's done that. I mean, he did that in the Houston series where we almost lost that one year. Unless he got injured, I was like, like if he didn't get injured, we would have. Yeah, I would have been like, oh,
yeah, we would have took this serious.
Yeah, we would have took that serious for sure. Like I was sweating bullets. I was like, oh man, and then I kind of felt guilty too because when he got hurt, I was like, oh man, I don't want
to. You were celebrating,
right? Yeah. We winning, I was like, but he was dominating,
Yeah, he was.
He was
James Harden checked out and he checked in.
Yeah, exactly. And if there's no other players, he would just make that little mid-range shot anywhere he wants and just it's good. Yeah. So I'm excited for the season. I'm really looking forward to it and to see where we're gonna take this. I know we have at least 3 more years to chase the championship, and I think we're at least gonna win one more, man. I want at least one more for Steph. I
believe that's gonna happen too, man. I believe it's gonna happen too.
Yeah. So,
man, now back to the travel, man.
Yeah.
The decision y'all made to move overseas. How long did y'all think about that decision, man? Or was it just a New Year's resolution? You was like, we just gonna do it.
You know what, T? It was like I said, we've always wanted to travel, and everything just lined up. Like when I say everything lined up, like things just started happening. Well, we couldn't explain it,
Gotcha.
My wife and I were like, if we want to travel, let's just do it. We didn't even know how. We didn't know, and we were living with our parents at the time. We're like, but we got so much stuff. What are we gonna do with the stuff? So then I just started selling things, on Facebook Marketplace, on, then I sold my car, and I was like, well, now we don't have a car, so this you can't look back now, right? So then
Yeah,
we bought our
All
ticket.
in.
We bought our ticket, and then it just happened one after another. And then next thing you know, we end up here, right? And even when we got here, we feel like the universe has already like conspired for us to like
Just lined
be
everything
here.
up.
In a very comfortable way. Like even where we're living now, like it's a good friend of mine. It's his investment property.
Gotcha.
And he had just gotten the keys. He had just gotten like turned over, right? And then he knew that I was coming out here. He was like, "Man, I would love to like have you guys rent it because I trust you." Like I know you're gonna take care of it. Like I'll give you a sweet deal and all. So I was like, okay.
Relationships are a big thing, man.
Yes.
Now,
so, I mean,
what would you say is the difference between being in the States, having all that responsibility, and then let some of that go, and then being where you're at now?
Oh, it's a lot lighter for sure. Energetically, mentally, stress-wise. When you come to a different place where you don't know the language, and you're forced to get outside your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we've been here a couple of times already, we haven't really immersed ourselves in the culture, right? And really like lived here long term to understand how the environment's going to impact us. And so when we came here, we started to see the different nuances compared to the States and the Philippines, right? The vibe here is way more relaxed. People are way less stressed. They're way more happier with their lives, even though, economically they're not making, as much, right? Like everyone here is like smiley and polite and just like loving, and they hang out with their families, and all the weekends are always packed and doing activities, it's like, in the States, it's like you go somewhere, if you smile at someone, they might look, they might look at you
funny,
what you smiling at, bro? I'm like,
exactly.
I'm just smiling, man.
I got a chance to, while I was in the military, I got a chance to travel around Asia a lot. I lived in Japan for a year, and I got a chance to go to South Korea. I also got a chance to go to Hong Kong. So I'm Shinhei, Donghae, Seoul, Korea, Hong Kong, all over Japan, man. And so just the way of life, it's like people not worried about certain things that stress us here. Life is easier, food is healthier. Like we were talking about medicine earlier. Over there at the pharmacy in Japan, they had plants. They had plants in the pharmacy, and somebody would come with their prescription, and the pharmacist would take the leaves off, so he take bark and then he grind it up and then put that into a capsule and then give it to the customer. When I saw that, I was like, boy, they would not allow that in the States. Even though I feel that's the best thing. They would not allow people see that, they're gonna shut that down.
Right.
But it was just so amazing, man. And then also too, man, I had a friend and she told me, she said, we can eat whatever we want as long as we drink this tea. I think it was like some oolong tea or something. And she was she said, you can eat greasy food, drink this tea, clean you out, you good.
Yeah. So there's one thing I want to mention about, the major differences, specifically when it comes to food. So when we first got here, I started to notice and become aware of how much I eat. So in the States, man, I go to the taco truck, buy a fat burrito with 2 tacos, horchata, I would inhale the whole thing. Like I would eat everything. And then I'd feel tired and lethargic and like don't want to do anything, right? And all the stuff that we bought there, like you said, a lot of processed stuff too.
Yeah.
And then when we came here, even when the first couple weeks or 2 to 3 weeks, we would go out to eat and buy food, and I would notice that our table was full of food, right, for me and my family. But then I look over the other table, and the normal people, the locals there, they just have one plate to themselves, and they would just eat, and everything would be good. I'm over here like, are they gonna get full with that? So then I'm over here looking at myself like, I think I'm overeating, and that whole that whole understanding with myself really tripped me out, because then I became aware that I was. So now that I'm living here for, almost going on 9 months now, I've learned to like eat to the point of just feeling content, not too full, it's not still hungry, but just enough. And I feel good. My energy is good. I'm super, focused still. And, I'm not as tired. And then, like I said, the food is, even way more organic here. Exactly. So I don't have to worry about all that stuff. I don't like, my bowel movements are awesome. We haven't even gotten sick here. Like, it's just great, back home, man, it's totally different. And you see that. And that's the point. And that's why I think, I feel and I think everyone should travel. You should always get a chance to like go somewhere else and experience something else, and experience a new, culture and how they live. Because you never know, like if something, is good for you, but it's on the other side of the world. Exactly. You're gonna miss out if you don't go.
If you don't go and see it,
Yeah. So
don't believe the stereotypes. Don't believe the hype. Go over there and go see it, man.
Exactly.
Another thing I noticed too is the way of life in most places outside of the States. People looked younger for long periods of time, and there was a low amount of overweight people.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, the vibe here is totally different. They're not really stressed out. And let me just say another thing about specifically the Philippines, because that's the one thing I noticed here was like the traffic, right? Crazy traffic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's get in where you fit in. Like there's motorcycles, there's people walking, there's like cars and trucks, there's no lanes, they make their own lanes. But something about the collective understanding, they don't get into any accidents.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one car accident here since I've been here. That's 9 months.
Yeah.
Since I rarely hear like police sirens.
Yeah.
When I was in the States, every day, multiple times a day. Yeah. And that does something to your psyche, right? Like,
exactly.
You automatically get tense, like, oh shit, what's going on? Like, I hope everyone's okay, or like, is something happening, right? Like, it makes you tense. Here, I don't hear it. Maybe once a month, twice a month, and we live in like a metro city. So, and I don't see any, accidents or nothing. And everyone's like, they walk everywhere, so everyone's like real fit and, they're just like I said, happy and very respectful. Everyone's like greeting you all the time, it's amazing, and if we've been to other countries too, and it's the same way.
Yeah, I remember being in different parts of Asia and seeing people in the 90s, smoking cigarettes. No walker, no wheelchair, no cane. Working in the field, squat down, stand up. They not none of that. Yeah. And I'm like, man, how these people 90-something years old still moving like that? And we have people over here that's 30, 40, 50, got the walker on all 13 different mans. That's why I say you have to get out and go see the world. You may just find your healing.
Yeah. Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
You guys? I love the name of your podcast. How did you come up with that? Why did you come up with that?
Man. When one of my buddies, man, we wanted a name that would stick out and get attention. Yeah. Because also too, we were seeing that there was a lot of platforms where men didn't have a voice. And what we felt like a narrative that was being pushed is that men just always wrong no matter what, and they just have to accept it.
But
you know what I'm saying? Even when you're right, you're wrong. So we wanted a platform we could have our voice. And also too, is for betterment of men and correcting men.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go back to you with a question.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that. I like that. Yeah.
So can you tell us about a time where everyone thought you was wrong and you were right? Or can you tell us about a time when you were wrong, living wrong, or what did you do to make it right or be right?
Wow. I'm going to go with the latter, because when I first saw the show, your podcast, right, and the title of your podcast, that my immediate thought was, damn, I was wrong for a long time about myself. Right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I was very defensive, very unaware, very unhealed. So I always thought that I was always right. Everything I did was take it or leave it, right? All of my past relationships ended like that because I would either walk away, because they didn't conform to what I was saying or doing. And, I never thought that I was ever wrong. And so when I finally got into a relationship where I knew that I couldn't leave my wife no matter how upset I got, which was crazy, right? And she was like the only woman ever that I can ever see myself growing old with. All my other relationships, I never had that vision. But with her, for some reason, I had that. So even at the height of my anger or, bitterness or whatever, or defensiveness, for some reason, I would always come back. I would always be magnetically, back to her. And there were many times where I was wrong, right? And how I corrected that was to do my own healing. I really had to ask myself the hard questions. Like, why do I behave like this? Why am I so defensive? Why can't I talk about my feelings? Why do I get triggered all the time, right? These are difficult questions for me to ask because I came from my background of like, I'm always right and you're wrong,
Yeah.
And so whatever I said, you have to take it, because when I look back, that's the way my father was, right? My mother was very submissive. So it was like his rule or no rule, or his say or no say, right? Like you couldn't go against anything that he said. And so he was always right, even though he was wrong, right? Even though he made a mistake, he would still, be correct. And I adopted that attitude, being around that and being an observant to that type of behavior. So that stuck with me throughout my relationships until, this one fateful one where I really had to dig deep and ask myself those hard questions to start the healing journey, right? Because that's what happens. I got so tired of arguing about the same stuff.
Yeah.
That was like, I was like emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually depleted, but I knew I couldn't be without her. I was like, something has to give. Like, she ain't changing, so what else is there, right? I had to look at myself and be like, I think it's me.
Yeah.
Self-reflection, man.
Yeah, most definitely self-reflection.
Right. So, and for those of you that are, and for your audience, this is something that I teach my students. If you don't know where you are in your healing journey, for myself personally, there's the 5 stages that I've went through, and it might give some of your audience some clarity on where they are, right? Because initially, first what happens is we become aware, right? And they all start with A. So the first stage is awareness. For me, my awareness was like my anger issue, defensiveness, not being able to articulate my emotions, right? And I couldn't connect on a very emotionally intimate level. And so I had all these like deficiencies in that sense. And then I became aware because I was so tired. I was so depleted and exhausted. I was like, something's got to give, right? And then when I went through that awareness stage, you then start to ask those questions, those hard questions to yourself.
Yeah.
And then you have to really do a lot of, shadow work to accept all the parts, all the shadows, all the, the childhood traumas that, you dealt with that, produced all of these different behaviors, right? Or produced all these different personality traits. And so that stage is the hardest stage, because that's when you really have to look at yourself and be like, well, there's all this stuff, there's something wrong with you. And you messed up a lot of times, right? You could have did this, you could have did this way, or, you could have made this decision. So you have to go through all that. And then you go into the action stage where you start to do the work. You start to like take care of yourself, right? Take meditation classes, see psychiatrist, a therapist, or whatever, right? Work on yourself, do a self-care routine, and then really trying to, implement positive discipline and behavior to help you, get through those shadow parts of yourself to make you fully understand who you are. And then that's when you start to realize your healing, which is like the actualization stage. You start to heal. You start to realize like, oh man, under all that trauma, I'm this type of person. Under all that trauma, I value this, right? Under all of that trauma, this is what brings me joy. This is my definition of success. This is my definition of happiness, right? And then when you get to that stage, you then become your most authentic self. And that's the last stage, right? Healing is just you remembering who you truly are to get to your most authentic essence, right? Because at that point, you're very unapologetic. Nothing, no one can tell you anything. It's like, I have my truth, and I stand with that, and I'm not bothering you, because I'm living my life, like you do you, I do me, and the world is good, so.
Yes, sir, man. Now, what events or workshops or things you got coming up, man? How can people find you?
Oh, yeah. So I have a free Facebook community called the Healing Tribe. You can just look up Healing is the Hustle on Facebook. You'll find it there. People can join there. I have weekly trainings in there right now. And I teach all this stuff, how to begin your journey, how to do proper self-care, right? Talk about setting boundaries and all that stuff. You can also go to any of my social media channels, Chanthalangsy. I have my website that has a whole bunch of resources you can download for free.
I'm going to pull that up for everybody, Jay.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's like resources there. If you're interested in doing energy healing, you can set up a session with me, or I'm also accepting one-on-one coachings, clients at the moment as well.
And as you can see, all his social medias are right there on his page.
Right.
All these links.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So and you have like resources there. I am coming out with a course on TikTok as well that I'm going to be launching pretty soon. So, look out for that. Also, I'm working on a book right now that explains those 5 stages of the healing journey. And so hopefully that's going to come out by next year. We'll see.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So.
Yes, sir, man. Make sure y'all go to Chanthalangsy webs.com, man. Website, man. Get the information. Tap in with him, man. Amazing dude, man. Hey, we've been talking like we've been knowing each other for a long time.
I know.
The energy is good, man. Energy,
yes. I mean, like I said, thank you so much for this opportunity. I was excited to be here and, to have this type of conversation. And likewise, your energy is really, really good. I mean, it's different when you vibe like that. And like I said, everything's in it. Right. So appreciate you.
Man, I like to give a shout out, man, to a friend for mine.
Yes.
I mutual friend for, man, hooking this up. And also, man, I'm a big supporter. Yes. So, man, make sure you go to his website and also make sure you get her book. Can you hear me? You see, I was important. Your boy got a copy. I got a copy. I'm for real with it. It's on Amazon. Go get it.
Yes.
Francis Fomine.
Yeah, I'm waiting for her audiobook to be done so I can listen.
Oh, yeah.
To it. Yeah. She sent me
a quick read. It's a quick read. It's really good.
Yeah, she's doing a lot of good stuff.
This definitely has opened my eye to a lot of things. Like I said, I never heard of energy healing, but the information that you gave today has kind of opened my eyes. Coming from America, we're always taught the pill is the answer. By you explaining the whole energy thing, it makes sense. It's like modern medicine is actually trying to catch up to what's already been going on for centuries. So it definitely was valuable information.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I think there's a place and time, for Western medicine, but like I just want to touch on that because you just having this type of curiosity to learn more is where it all begins. And I think for everyone, if they're open-minded in this way to understand, like there's other modalities that may help them, right? And the one that I do is just one, right? T, you talked about Reiki. There's acupressure, acupuncture. There's EFT, right? Tapping. There's quantum healing. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there. And I'm a huge proponent of healing. So even if my clients and students come to me and the work that I do, doesn't really work for them, I tell them, go find something else. There's so much that we have this supercomputer on our, in our hands. Like, you can look up anything and find something that resonates, find something that can help you, begin that healing journey for yourself, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever it is, right? Because I think after a while, when people understand, and take responsibility for their healing, they can change their life, right? They can change their life for the better, right? And that's what everyone strives to do, is just to live, life to the fullest and experience all the wonder and beauty and, love that they're born with, right? I mean, it's their birthright. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I feel as if when we come in this world, we already have, and we're closer to the Creator. And then as we go through this life, we get kind of corrupted.
Disconnect,
But then get in the way, we get distracted, and we have to find. It's on us to get back balanced and find our way back to the energy and the Almighty Creator.
Yes, yeah, and that's exactly it. Like I said, even going through this whole healing journey, like, you're just trying to find your way back before you were tainted, before all of the trauma, before all of the, pain and suffering, right?
Yeah.
Because it deep down inside of all of us, we're pretty much the same type of compassionate being, like, you look at kids, they're prime examples of how we're supposed to be, even how they regulate themselves emotionally. It's the same thing. We just
honesty.
Yes. Very, very honest. Yeah.
They're gonna let
very
you know.
honest. Very candid. You know what I mean? But it's like, but even if they feel sad or whatnot, and they get through it, they go back to being there in their homeostasis, way of being happy, right? They just are very curious, and they just want to enjoy the moment. I look at my kids all the time. I'm like, man, they're just having fun with this little block,
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
imagination going wild.
Exactly.
Just creating stuff, creating an environment.
Exactly. And we can do that. I've done that many times, even in meditation. Like, I'll come out of a meditation, I'm like, that was wild. Like, you have these crazy psychedelic experience. You're like, whoa.
I'll tell you real quick, man, before we get up out of here. Like, my experiences in meditation is almost like a weightlessness. It's like and the more I did it, the quicker I got into the meditative state. It got to the point of where I sat down, relaxed, got calm, and then my mind was clear, and boom, I was in it. When I first started, it took longer to calm the thoughts and clear my mind. And then it felt like weightlessness, like my body was gone and my head was floating. Then it felt like I wasn't breathing, because the breathing becomes so shallow, and you just calm. Sometimes you catch yourself, you do that, and I would feel like I'm traveling, or I would have memories of things that I thought I forgot about.
Right.
Or sometimes, man, you can also say I might see some things that ain't happened yet.
Yes. So I'll give you a quick example about that. Just today, I was meditating for like 35 minutes, and I have this marathon that I'm gonna do here in the Philippines, right? My first international marathon, and I went into the meditation just wanting to relax my body. I was like, I'm gonna just sit here and just relax my body. As soon as I went into the meditation state, like, all these visions of me running, like, into the different places of the course of the marathon and stuff like that. Like, I saw myself taking off my shirt, like drinking some water and like finishing the finish line. I'm like, wow. Like, and then I came out of it. I was like, I felt like I already did it.
I already did,
Because when you're in that state, your mind doesn't know the difference between imagination, visualization, or reality. Right. And that's why we kind of get these crazy moments in that meditative state, because our brain waves are so, it's the frequency is at a very low level, right? Beta, alpha, even gamma levels. Like, that's when things start to look really, You know what I mean? Like out there, you're just like, what? You know, floating in space, your body's not there.
Yeah.
I've had all those experiences that you explain, and it's hard to talk to someone that
hasn't experienced it.
Because you're just like, what? You can do that? I was like, yeah, everyone can do this.
Yeah, you can do this without putting anything foreign in your body.
Right, exactly. You know, and people have been doing this for thousands of years.
Yeah.
You know, thousands of years, and it's you know, people have their apprehensions about it because of their own beliefs and stuff like that. But I always say, man, it's like I believe everyone should be meditating. I don't care what background or whatever it is that you're from. Like just a couple minutes a day, just staying consistent. Can change your life,
Yeah, tremendously.
Yeah.
All right, bro, man. Thank you, man, for coming on, man.
Thank you so much, man.
You, bro. We're gonna have to do this again in the future, man.
Yes. Likewise,
man. Yes, sir, man.
Sure.
Once again, man, make sure y'all go to his website. All his social media links on the website. The website is at the bottom of the screen. Make sure y'all tap in, man. Follow this man. Take his coaching. You know what I'm saying? Help yourself. Help yourself.
Yes.
Yes.
That
healing.
Yes.
Exactly, man.
Healing is the hustle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bro, we appreciate you, man. And we're going to have to do this again.
Thank you for your time.
Future,
oh, yeah. My pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you guys both.
Man, that has been an amazing show, man, of the Men Can Always Be Wrong podcast brought to you by CTR Media. Man, we want to thank our guest again, Jay Chanthalangsy. And man, it's an amazing show, bro. Man, we talk like we've been knowing this brother forever.
Yeah.
G was
good guy, man. Definitely.
And keep the good energy in your life. Check him out. Check out all his courses and everything, man. Go to his website. Check out everything, man. Tap in with him on social media, man. Follow this man so you can get the attention and the help that you need, man, to self-heal yourself and take your self-care seriously.
Yeah,
she got
that trauma out your body.
Exactly.
That trauma out your body.
Yeah. She got T-Swin and
your boy J Bean.
Yes, sir. And we are out.
CTR Media Network is now accepting new podcasters to join our growing network that's reaching 350 million global listeners. Have you heard? CTR Media Network offers podcast production, podcast training, distribution, and product placement. Book us for your next event or schedule an interview with CTR Media Network podcasters today. To learn more, go to ctrmedianetwork.com.
What up, everybody? It's your guy T-Swin. As you know, I was recently featured in the Trucker Magazine's March issue for my transportation music. Well, the wait is finally over. The transportation music is here now. Man, you can play it, stream it, download it, live, man. Spread the word. Good, clean music that jams. Be a part of history in the making, man. The first ever all transportation music album ever. Our own genre, transportation music. Ride what you got, T-Swin. Let's get it.
Yes, let me show you how to pick it up and move it. Homie, this is transportation music. Something to ease your mind while you're cruising. Homie, this is transportation music.